Meeting's called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I'd like to welcome everyone to the December regular meeting of the Community High School District 94 Board of Education. Mission statement, please.
Community High School will ignite a passion for learning, foster leadership and responsibility, and empower all learners to live their personal best.
Thank you, Rich. Board agreements, please.
Closed session meetings. Board members respect the confidentiality of privileged information and will not divulge conversations, discussions, or deliberations that take place during a closed session meeting. Board members understand that to divulge closed session information not only damages the relationship of the team, but has the potential for far-reaching consequences which may impact future district operations.
Thank you, Lynn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Casey Mayer?
Here.
Mr. Nagel?
Present.
Mr. Ramos?
Present.
Ms. Munoz?
Here.
Ms. Chavez?
Here.
Ms. Murphy?
Present.
All right, that brings us to Student of the Month.
Hey, West Chicago Community High School is proud to recognize senior Julia Koput as its November Student of the Month, honoring her exceptional academic and athletic achievements, leadership, and commitment to service both in and beyond the classroom. A highly accomplished student, Julia has earned numerous academic distinctions throughout her high school career. Her honors include being named an AP Scholar with Distinction and receiving the College Board National First Generation Recognition Award. Through the National Honor Society, Julia was also recognized with the Zero Hero Award and a National Community Service Award, highlighting her dedication to service and accountability. Julia's leadership extends across a wide range of school activities. A 4-year member of the girls' tennis program, she has served as a 2-year varsity captain while earning Upstate 8 All-Conference recognition in tennis for 3 consecutive years. She is a 4-year member and officer of Business Professionals of America, a student ambassador, and an active member of PEP Club. Within the National Honor Society, Julia serves as a committee chair, further reflecting her commitment to leadership and service. Leslie Fireman, National Honor Society advisor and English teacher, praised Julia's leadership and influence within the WeGo community. Julia is a consistent leader who comes prepared, contributes thoughtfully to discussions, and elevates the thinking of those around her, Fireman said. Whether leading her peers, supporting school initiatives, or engaging deeply in her learning, she sets a strong example of responsibility, creativity, and quiet confidence. Looking ahead, Julia plans to attend college where she intends to major in psychology while pursuing a major or minor in Spanish. Her long-term goal is to attend medical school and become a psychiatrist, combining her academic interests with her passion for helping others. When offering advice to future Wildcats, she encourages students to step outside their comfort zone. Try at least one new thing each semester. Don't let your shyness get in the way of finding a hobby or a new passion. You might discover something you love. West Chicago Community High School congratulates Julia Koput on this well-deserved recognition and wishes her continued success in all her future endeavors. Like a sheet here. There you go. Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations, Julia. And that brings us to good news of the district.
West Chicago Community High School Music Department continued its tradition of excellence this fall as 6 students were selected to participate in the prestigious Illinois Music Education Association, ILMEA, District 9 Music Festival. Their selection places them among the top young musicians in one of the most competitive districts in the state, a distinction earned through exceptional talent, discipline, and dedication to their craft. These students were chosen from a pool of more than 1,000 auditioning musicians across District 9. Through rigorous evaluations that included prepared etudes and scales, they demonstrated outstanding musicianship and a deep commitment to their choral and instrumental studies. All 6 students spent Saturday, November 8th at Dundee Crown High School, where they rehearsed under the direction of esteemed guest conductors and concluded the day with memorable evening performances. ILMEA District 9 honors musicians in the chorus of Nick Riconoscudo, bass, senior, Millie Morazarco, baritone, senior, Charlotte Conger, alto, 1, sophomore. In instrumental, Gwyneth Nika, flute, senior, Timothy Kotke, double bass, junior, and Adrian Ramos Perez, a violin, senior. District 94 congratulates these talented Wildcats on their remarkable achievements and celebrates the music department for continuing to inspire excellence, creativity, and pride throughout our school community.
Congratulations. Now moving on to Educators of the Month.
From portrait to practice, Lori Mentgen selected as the West Chicago Community High School Educator of the Month. D94 is proud to recognize English learner teacher Lori Mentgen as the West Chicago Community High School Educator of the Month. Lori's energy, empathy, and student-centered approach make her classroom a place where multilingual learners feel welcomed, supported, and empowered to grow. Her work reflects the heart of our portrait of an educator and enriches the experiences of students across our building. Lori is known for consistently going above and beyond for her students, often staying after school to help with homework, answer questions, or simply provide a safe space where students can feel comfortable and cared for. Director of Multilingual and Multicultural Services Juan Suarez highlighted her impact, sharing, "Lori always works closely with students. She often stays after school to offer homework help in a safe and welcoming space. She consistently goes above and beyond in her service to students. Lori's energetic spirit shines through in her lessons. Her dedication, positivity, and commitment make her a great asset to our school community." Lori describes the culture at West Chicago as truly special, noting that teachers and staff go above and beyond to inspire, uplift, and advocate for students while supporting one another. She added that our students deserve the very best, especially during these challenging times, a belief that guides her work and shapes every interaction she has with learners. Above all, Lori considers serving the multilingual community a privilege. Her passion for helping students find their voice, build confidence, and discover their potential is felt daily by the young people she teaches. District 94 proudly celebrates Lori Mentgen for her compassion, professionalism, and unwavering dedication to her students. She exemplifies what it means to be an educator who leads with heart, purpose, and belief in every learner. And Lori could not be here tonight, so put that aside. From portrait to practice, Sarah Gill selected as the West Chicago Community High School Educator of the Month. D94 is proud to recognize Spanish teacher Sarah Gill as the West Chicago Community High School Educator of the Month. Known for her positivity, collaboration, and deep commitment to students, Sarah brings the portrait of an educator to life each day through her enthusiasm, leadership, and unwavering support for the school community. Sarah's influence extends far beyond her classroom. This year, she volunteered to co-lead the Professional Development Committee, working alongside teacher leaders and administrators to help shape meaningful, responsive learning experiences for staff. Director of Multilingual and Multicultural Services, Juan Suarez, praised her dedication, sharing, "Sarah has volunteered to co-lead the PD committee along with teacher leaders and administrators. Her involvement, feedback, and thoughtful planning have been instrumental in organizing next steps of support for our team. Sarah is a supportive advocate and a mentor for many in our department." Students also feel the impact of Mrs. Gill's commitment and joyful spirit. Senior Julia Coput reflected on how Mrs. Gill helped shape her experience on the school's Spain trip. "What I appreciate most about Mrs. Gill is her bubbly personality. She was our adult supervisor for the Spain trip, which helped make the experience so memorable. She was always smiling, excited to show us new places, and happy to answer all of our questions. She is always open to helping students, which is what makes her so special." For Sarah, WeGo is more than a workplace, it's home. Reflecting on her journey, she shared, "WeGo is home. I began my career here and was blessed to learn from so many incredible educators who helped shape who I am today. Throughout my journey, the relationships that I have built with students, colleagues, and families have been some of my greatest blessings. I am truly grateful to work with and alongside such a wonderful community." District 94 proudly celebrates Sarah Gill for her leadership, her joy, and her deep commitment to building meaningful connections. She exemplifies what it means to serve with heart, purpose, and a genuine belief in every student.
Congratulations, Sarah. And now, staff member of the month.
A Passion for WeGo, celebrating Jesus Pasillas, staff member of the month. It is with great pride that District 94 announces Jesus Pasillas, Building Operations Custodian, as the West Chicago Community High School staff member of the month. Known for his reliability, work ethic, and unwavering service to the school community, Jesus is a cornerstone of the building operations team, whose efforts often take place behind the scenes, but whose impact is felt by every student, staff member, and visitor who walks through our doors. Jesus was recognized for his extraordinary dependability and his willingness to step in whenever needed. Whether responding to an urgent request, supporting a school event, or addressing unexpected maintenance challenges, he approaches every task with professionalism, humility, and care. Manager of Building Operations Sergio Espinoza praised Jesus' exceptional dedication, sharing, "Jesus Pasillas has volunteered to come in on short notice, weekends, holidays, and in unforeseen situations that impact D94, the town, or rental events. He has taken part in 24-hour building watches when needed and never deters from volunteering, especially when last-minute situations require extra physical effort or stepping into difficult conditions. Jesus makes himself available whenever the team or the building needs him. He has also exhibited perfect attendance for countless years." District 94 proudly celebrates Jesus Pasillas for his commitment, his integrity, and his tireless service to the West Chicago Community High School community. His work makes our school safer, stronger, and better each day. Congratulations.
He's here. I didn't say, Chewy just walked
I'm
past.
just trying to text him.
Congratulations, Jesus.
Congratulations.
Thank you, muchas gracias.
Gracias.
Oh, thank you. Gracias.
All right, that brings us to public participation. This is the portion of our meeting where any member of the public may address the Board of Education on any topic. We welcome your comments and will carefully listen to your concerns. We will not be able to engage in a dialogue during public participation, but when appropriate, we will direct the administration to follow up. Presentations are limited to no more than 5 minutes per person, with a total time limit of 30 minutes for public participation. If you're making public comment, please speak slowly so that the translator is able to keep up with you. If you wish to make personal charges or complaints against individual employees, volunteers, or students of the district, we request that you send the board your concerns in writing rather than stating those concerns during public comment. If anyone currently present wishes to make public comment and hasn't already done so, please fill out one of the comment forms in the back of the room and hand it to someone seated at the table. At this point, we have received no comment cards and no online comment. If any of you are here primarily for the honors, you certainly are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we completely understand if you'd like to slip away as we go into the business portion of our meeting. That brings us to reports and information, audit presentation.
Thanks. I'll introduce, so Baker Tilly is our auditor, and Taryn Bruce is from Baker Tilly. She's going to be walking through the audit and the annual financial report. There's a bunch of documents in front of you that she may or may not be referring to, but she will point you in the right direction. Taryn's been with us for at least 7 years, if not more. So she is well-versed with our district and understands where we were and where we currently are. So I will hand it over to Taryn.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Dan. So I know Dan mentioned you have some reports in front of you. We're really going to focus on the financial statements and the audit, or the AFR, which is your annual financial report that is submitted to ISB. So I do have some page references as I go through the report, so please stop me at any time if you guys have any questions. But as Dan mentioned, my name is Taryn Bruce, and I am the manager on the District's 25 audit. I have been on this audit since 2017, 2018, so as Dan mentioned, it's been a while. And thank you for having me this evening to discuss the 2025 audit results, and thank you for using Baker Tilly as your auditors. This evening, I will briefly highlight the more important aspects of the audit. As you can see, there's lots of pages going on, so I'll kind of highlight some key features through that. If you have any questions regarding any of that information, please stop me at any point. So this year, the fiscal 2025 audit is completed, and the reports were issued on November 24th of 25. The scope of this year's audit is going to consist of the modified accrual basis financial statements. So this is a change from last year, which I'll go into shortly. Last year, you guys were on the modified cash basis. This year, you are on the modified accrual basis. We are also going to go through the ISB financial report, or the AFR, and then the audit results letter. Unfortunately, this year, as of right now, we are unable to issue the single audit due to the delay in the compliance supplement that was just recently issued by the Office of Management and Budget. Typically that is released in July, and it just got finalized. So with the new update and the finalization, we now have to kind of double check our audit testing that we've done, go through our issuance procedures. Audits are typically due on March 31st of 2026, and we currently have we do not anticipate any delays on that. So we've done the testing, but that's just kind of the holdup on that report. So as I mentioned, the district did convert from the modified cash basis to the modified accrual basis of accounting. So kind of what does that mean? Under the cash basis, the district recorded revenue when the cash is expenditures are recorded when the cash is paid. The modified cash basis was a little bit of a hybrid of that accounting method, so that it blends the simplicity of the cash basis, but also accounting for key elements of the accrual basis. So in last year's report, really the only change is we had long-term liabilities, so your debt, and then capital assets. This year, though, you guys transition to the modified accrual basis. So this allows the district to better match revenues and expenditures in the proper period. So kind of what does that mean? On the fund level, we are now going to see some receivables and payables. And on the entity-wide statements, so our big statements that I'll go into, are going to have, a bit more long-term liabilities that relate to the pension. So IMRF, TRS, THIS, and OPEB, which is your other post-employment benefits. Which were not previously considered under the modified cash basis. So kind of what that means for the receivables and the payables, it's what was received and paid in 26 that may have related to 25, and we brought that back into the district's financial statements for more comparability and, matching revenues with expenditures in the proper period. Any questions kind of on that before I jump into the fun numbers? Perfect. So I will now highlight the key results from the reports mentioned above, starting with the financial statements. So as we kind of start through this page here, we're going to start with the opinion. We issued an unmodified opinion over the district's modified accrual basis financial statements. This is the highest level of assurance that can be obtained from your auditors, and it means the financial statements were fairly presented in all material respects and contain all necessary disclosures. So that means you guys had a clean audit. Next, we go to the management's discussion and analysis. Really, this just provides financial statement readers with the story behind the numbers, really coming from management's perspective. And then we are going to jump into the statement of net position and the statement of activities. So this is on pages 1 and 2. These are going to be your full accrual basis statements, and that includes your capital assets, your long-term liabilities, which includes the pension numbers that I mentioned with IMRF, TRS, THIS, and OPEB. Pages 5 and 8, which might look a little confusing, just a bunch of words with some numbers on there. Those are really the reconciliations of the differences between our statements on pages 1 and 2 and our balance sheet and our income statement on 3 and 4 and 6 and 7. So these are just reconciling those two statements to each other. On page 3 and 4, we have the balance sheet. One thing to note on this page, or pages, there's positive fund balances across all funds, and there were no deficit fund balances. The statement of revenue, expenditure, and changes in fund balance are located on pages 6 and 7. One thing to kind of highlight here, your total fund balances this year increased just over $2 million. A chunk of that was driven by the increase in evidence-based funding. On page 6, you'll see those are the district's operating funds. So we do see a surplus of just about $1 million. The general fund had a surplus of almost $2 million. The operation and maintenance fund did have a decrease of just over $100,000, but the district also transferred funds from O&M to capital projects to fund future capital projects. The transportation fund did have a decrease just shy of $1 million. This is really just due to an increase in transportation costs, and we have seen this consistently across all Illinois schools. And then IMRF fund, that remained pretty stagnant, with a slight increase of just over $12,000. So following the basic financial statements, then we have the notes to the financials, which provide more detail around those asset and liability balances. And then we also show budget to actual schedules for each individual fund throughout the report. That is what I had on financial. I'll jump into the AFR next. I just wanted to pause to see if anyone had any questions that they reviewed. Perfect. So
Taryn, just so you know, they don't have the AFR in front of them.
Oh, got you.
They have the electronically.
Perfect. And there's not much to go over through the AFR. I just wanted to highlight with the AFR that the district is recognition status. I think that's really the key piece of the AFR, really just looking at, the bulk of all the numbers, which are summarized in the financial statements. So the district did achieve recognition status, which is the highest level of recognition by ISB. They scored a 4 out of a maximum score of 4. So this is just made up of a strong cash position that the district has, a strong fund balance to revenue ratio, strong expenditure ratio, and then just debt outstanding. So there are a few aspects that are calculated into that number, but the district did receive recognition status. So that is kind of what I have on the financial numbers before I jump into audit results. So one other document that we issue is our audit results letter. And this just really has a lot of the non-financial information throughout the year. So this satisfies a few different audit standards and is very much boilerplate letters. The letter addresses our responsibilities, management's responsibilities, that there are no significant changes to the audit plan, our areas of focus, our thoughts on any significant risk of material misstatement, none noted, and then key areas of emphasis. One thing that we do is we do gain an understanding of the district's internal controls for the purpose of our planning procedures, but we do not provide any assurance around the design and effectiveness of internal controls. So during this time and throughout the audit, if we see matters that we believe the board should know about, we do like to bring that to your guys' attention. There were no material weaknesses identified during this year's audit. However, we did note 2 significant deficiencies, which were interrelated, bank reconciliations and then the payroll liabilities. But with talking with Dan and his team, they're already actively engaging with Skyward, and then they're already planning to remedy those differences and those deficiencies that they've noted. We also noted no instances of noncompliance or other matters to be reported under the government auditing standards. And then lastly, we're also required to communicate if there are any significant unusual transactions, difficulties, and disagreements. Happy to report that there's nothing in the letter regarding those areas. And then finally, the last page of the audit results is kind of the two-way communication regarding the audit. While we work with management to complete the audit, we ultimately work for and report to the board. This part of the letter has some information that I feel is important for the board to know, and provide some points for the board to consider. So if you guys ever have any questions or concerns related to these or the audit, please do not hesitate to reach out at any time. And that's what I have for my presentation. So I just wanted to open up if anyone has any questions. Not, thank you so much for your time tonight. I really appreciate it. And if something yourself or reach out to Dan, and Dan can get that passed along to me.
Thank you for your presentation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Taryn.
All right, that brings us to board data presentation. Been waiting for this for a while.
Yes. Might wait a few more seconds till the projector warms up.
Anticipation is good.
Right. Yes. Bob, are we connected on your end too? All right, outstanding. So this is exciting, right, in a nerdy kind of way. I've been waiting a year and a half to be able to have our team come and present this data presentation that not only aligns to our recently developed strategic plan, but also aligns to the board-approved metrics. As you'll see here, we always start with our kids, right? Because every decision we make needs to be about our students and our kids, and the data that we look at has to be centered around them and doing what's right in the best interest of our students. So this evening, you're going to hear from several people about some of the things that we have been doing over the last year or so. And there's 4 key areas to this presentation. The first is I'm going to spend some time talking about the value of data and specifically how we can leverage it to improve student outcomes. Then we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into the state report card. There's been a couple changes since last year that some of you are already aware of, and some of you are aware of but need a little bit further explanation, specifically as it relates to student growth percentile. Then we're going to reintroduce our strategic plan, and then have our action teams talk about some of the work they've been doing this past semester. And finally, we'll wrap it up with the metrics and the dashboard. And you'll see that there is a report in front of you that we'll get into at the end of the presentation that will help to bridge the gap between some of the changes that have taken place in the state report card last year versus this year. So what is the value of data? There are 4 key elements here. One is to gain perspective. So historical data is going to provide us with valuable insight to help build upon what is working for our students and where we can improve. The second element of data is to develop a shared understanding, to establish clear and consistent metrics, provide for deeper understanding and a common focus for future planning. And then the third is to set a direction. It's all about collaboration around consistent and reliable data to give us a clear picture. And the fourth is to be able to monitor our progress, student progress, clearly defined benchmarks which we've laid out in order to monitor in an effective manner to make informed decisions as we move forward. So diving into the school report card, the state report card, in October of every year, October 30th, it would be nice if it was released earlier so we could talk about this at the beginning of the year, but the state releases the state report card on October 30th of every year. And the reason why it's important is that every school, every district in the state is measured on these key metrics across the board, and it's left to us to determine where we're at and how we grow. So it is essentially our scorecard to the state, which we have included in our metrics in our dashboard, but we've also included some building-specific metrics as well to align more closely to what we're doing. There are a couple of key things that have changed, and you've heard this before, that the state, the contract with SAT that the state had expired. They decided to put it out for a new contract, and then the state ended up securing ACT as our standardized assessment. The issue with that is when we look at comparing proficiency scales from SAT to ACT, there is a metric that you can use and a chart that you can use, but it becomes a little murky. And it's not like comparing apples to apples, it's more apples to oranges. So the report in front of you that we'll go into at the end takes it a step further, and it identifies state percentile ranking. So we now are comparing where we ranked proficiency in SAT throughout the state versus where we rank proficiency ACT throughout the state. So we can compare our growth through a state percentile ranking on those two metrics. It'll make sense as we go along. The more complicated thing to explain is the new element of the student growth percentile, the SGP. And this, in full transparency, took me a while, and it took a lot of the superintendents in the area a while to fully wrap our brains around how we can explain this publicly to where people will understand. But I'm going to go into that in a minute. And then lastly, we're going to talk about our overall rating, our summative designation that we'll get into, and how that summative designation is formed based on the metrics that are identified and how we grow in those metrics. So let's jump into the student growth percentile. So the student growth percentile compares a student's growth to their academic peers. So it's hard. The hardest thing that I had was looking at a percent and thinking of it in terms of speed, but that's exactly how the state has explained it. So you think of it in terms of speed. So if we look at our growth percentile for ELA, we grew at 48.6%. So what that is telling us is that on average, our students are growing faster than 48.6% of their academic peers. So we think of it in terms of speed, not necessarily percentile, right? We look at math, we're at 49.4. So how we explain that is that on average, our students are growing at faster than 49.4% of their academic peers. So right now in isolation, this means virtually nothing to us, right? Just seeing this for the first time, it means nothing. But over the course of the next several years, we'll be able to use this as a benchmark to identify year over year, are our students growing at a faster rate? Make sense? But the question you're probably asking is, okay, what does that actually mean? So what the state does is they identify what is, like, quote unquote, good growth for schools. So good growth for schools looks slightly different than good growth for individual students. So we're going to talk about it as in its totality as a school. So what the state has said is that if a school is growing at 60 or above, it's excellent. Above average is right around that 54 to 60, and then the average range is right around that 50 plus or minus 3. So if you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen where we're at and where the state sees us at in their eyes, we're right solid in that average range, a solid average range for student growth. With me so far? This takes a lot to digest. I'm telling you, when I tell you it took me a few weeks to sit down with fellow superintendents and say, how can we make this as simple as possible to explain it? It's still hard to kind of digest and understand. Any questions on student growth percentile? Okay. So now I'll have Dr. Pollo introduce the summative designation and how we came to our commendable rating.
So the report card includes a summative designation, and what that is it provides an overall snapshot of how the school is performing relative to other schools statewide. So this year, West Chicago received a commendable summative designation. And there are 5 different designations that ISB uses to rate schools. So on the slide, you'll see those 5 different designations along with a description for each. But in terms of like how we received the commendable. Now, we'll look at the next slide, which looks at some specific areas that make up those metrics that go into that summative designation. And so on here, you're gonna see what our overall designation was for 2024 compared to 2025. We're pleased to see that overall there was a 6.27 increase from last year. But if we take a look into those individual metrics that make up that, that overall index score. We are pleased to see that we've made growth in ELA in math proficiency. And so the ELA would be that blue box, math proficiency is right underneath that. So if we compare that with 2024, we've made some gains in that area. So last year, we developed our strategic plan. We collaboratively developed this plan, and this serves as our long-term roadmap for our school improvement efforts. The plan also reflects input from stakeholders, staff, and it defines our priorities and goals, and it sets our direction. We also created the portrait of a graduate, portrait of an educator, and the systems portrait. This really reflects what we want teaching and learning to look like as a system, what we want our system to look like. But really, more importantly, one of the important things is that it outlines some of the competencies that we want our students to have upon graduating from West Chicago High School.
Coming up next is Ms. Howard to talk about our action planning.
Good evening. The snapshot that we have for you up on the screen right now starts with some of the key definitions that kind of give us the framework for the analysis that we'll do in terms of the specific goals. One of the things that I'd like to point towards is the action team component. And one of the things that is significant there is how that is the same model that we're using in the PLCs, where it's that kind of planning, do, study, act kind of revision that we'll be going through over and over every year. In addition to that, you'll also see the SMART goal component, which is also the way that we're measuring things within PLCs and those individual teams, as well as the metric that's noted there, which is the M that we would have in the SMART goal. I'd also kind of as part of that larger framework, and here you can see the way that we're looking at the action team having 3 of those key goals that are there for you. So if you'll notice, the collection, evaluation, and then gap analysis is what that process we'll be going through, really looking at the idea of, first of all, having that active kind of live data that we'll be using, and then comparing that to the goals that we've set, and then ultimately looking at the level of achievement, hopefully, that we have been able to meet or exceed the goal, and if not, trying to look at what are the areas that have created that gap. You'll also notice down at the bottom those outcomes that are being noted there. So have we, made that progress toward the strategic goal, and then how does that factor into our continuous improvement? So in each of these goals that you're going to see, we have an annual goal that will continue to increase over the 5 years as we're doing this kind of evaluation. And then ultimately, in a larger picture there, that idea of building capacity, so whether that's with students, faculty, administration, the community as a whole, and then really looking at improvement as an organization. In terms of goal 1, focusing on student growth and achievement, I'd first of all really like to recognize all of the members of that team. As you can see up there, without my reading all of them to you, I really would like to highlight the role of the directors and the division heads who are listed there, as well as the faculty and staff who I will name. So we have Brittany Bauer from Family and Consumer Science, Emily Brown, who's a teacher leader in our multilingual department, Dave Clark, who is our technology integrationist, Erica Gudashaw, who is in special education and is also involved in adaptive technology, Kate Robb, who is involved in math, and Jen Ward, who is an English teacher of ours, and then Joe Zeman, who's in social studies. So really devoting time to this work. You'll see there specifically our goal being ensuring that all students have a personal pathway. And I know we've had a number of conversations over the last year or so, really looking at the idea of, we have some of these formal, we're calling them a capital P pathway, where the students could get a formal endorsement that goes on their transcript through the state, but we're really looking at expanding into having more of career understanding, career awareness, and then having an area where they see themselves ultimately being able to move towards and having that be personal to them. So that's the overarching component here. And then specifically for strategy 1, we're really looking at what are the programs, the procedures, the practices that we need to be utilizing and putting in place to really look at our achievement gaps, which we had discussed through the strategic planning process. So you can see below the 2 metrics in this area are going to focus on what's called ERW, so the English reading and writing component of the ACT, and then the mathematics component of that. You'll see that we have those baseline percentages that are there for last year, 24-25, which was the initial year that we had transitioned as the state to the ACT. And then you can see the 2.5% growth goal that has been established overall, which would then put us in a position where it would be more than a 10-point gain over the 5 years of the strategic plan. So how are we going to get there? First of all, this semester, there has been work that's been going on in terms of providing our students some general access in the core curriculum to understanding ACT and how it's connecting to the standards. So we've begun conversations with faculty in terms of what are the essential standards for a course or maybe potentially for a whole subject area. One of the things that we're working on communicating both ultimately with faculty and students is that the standards that we have for courses through the state are modeled as well as the standards that we have for the ACT. They overlap. So this is not something that's separate. ACT is able to capture those same standards. So there is preparation that's going on in each of the core courses in English, math, and science for all juniors. The work that is being done there that the students are engaging in the curriculum has been put together by the division heads and by faculty members over the last year. That work is ongoing. One of the things that we realize is that we're going to have to be able to provide this kind of preparation on a larger scale for all of our students, so freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. So essentially what's happening this year is beginning that work so that we can bring it to scale next year. You'll also notice that we're wanting to really be sensitive to making sure that all students are having access to this, we would consider tier 1, everyone has that learning. And so looking at how students who are in self-contained courses as well as ESL classes will be able to have preparation. In addition to that, also, there's just a shift over in materials. So, creating new resources for faculty as well as students. And then also this past Friday, a group of our core division heads, special education and EL, and I attended a regional professional development put on by ACT that really provided not only practical ideas about what that might look like for students, but some larger scale work about the ways that this could go beyond simply what we might consider test prep or kind of a crash course in that way. So that's going forward, that'll be one of the things that'll be important for us to work on. Next semester, our goals will be that we'll want students to have an understanding more so of question types. So moving beyond the test strategies that you might see in a particular discipline, but what are the kinds of questions that you're going to see on an English test? Same thing in terms of math, the way that you would understand particular stems or verbs or things like that. We want to provide opportunities for students during DEN to have some ACT essentially enrichment where they would be able to opt in and have some additional opportunities to work in one of those subject areas. And then also just larger professional development and strategy instruction. The last meeting that we had as a goal team, we focused on what is something that we could authentically do in the classroom that would enable us to support student learning and performance for the ACT. And ultimately the team made a decision to really focus on having students think about the background knowledge that they have in preparation for reading as something that would be able to be applied in all subject areas, and also was something that would be valuable in particular for our second language learners. So that is one of the more proactive steps that we'll be taking for second semester, and then we'll be able to kind of add to as we go forward. Nick?
So I'll talk about the second piece of goal number 1, which is ensure all students have a personal pathway to academic success. So we have 3 different measures that we're going to look at. The first is increasing AP test scores by 1.5% annually. So the numbers you see there, those are the out of all seniors, 22% have taken the AP test and gotten a 3 or higher. Out of the students who have actually taken the AP test, if we just look at who took them, 79% have gotten a 3 or higher. So what that tells us is that we need to do a better job of promoting the test with our teachers and getting kids that are actually in the AP classes to take the test. So we can increase this by promoting 2 students who are already taking the class to take the test, because not everyone who is in the class actually takes the AP test. So that'll be one thing we do to try and increase these numbers. In addition, adding AP courses. So next year we have AP Seminar, which will be an English course that will be added. And then I'm proposing through the CTE department 2 additional AP courses for 27-28, which would be AP Business with Personal Finance and AP Cybersecurity. So that offers opportunities for kids to get AP credit, but also those 2 CTE classes also come with industry certifications that students can earn, and they're already part of pathways at the national level. We just need to figure out how to make them part of pathways here, which we can do. Dual credit, we're looking to increase by 5% annually. This is just, again, we have students who are in dual credit classes who don't necessarily apply for dual credit. So we need to increase the knowledge of why it's important. I think a lot of our students don't necessarily understand that credit can transfer from COD to other schools. But we also need to add more dual credit options. So I've been working with each department to try and figure out how can we add more dual credit options within their respective departments. Started with science this year, so we added medical terminology for next year. We were able to get human anatomy back as dual credit for this year, and then fingers crossed in 27-28 we'll have a CNA program on campus that will also be dual credit. Scott Albright and I have been working pretty hard on that along with Mary Howard. We're pretty close, I think, to being able to have that conversation about what that would look like on our campus. Also got speech dual credit added for next year. School procedures is added for this year, which is the second part in our education pathway. They take intro to education, which is dual credit, and then school procedures will be the next step. And then I worked pretty extensively with Connor Zavatil, our PE department chair, to add some PE dual credit. So we're still waiting on a couple certifications, but based on what we've heard, everything should come through. We should have health. Should be an option for dual credit. Weightlifting, personal defense, and lifeguarding should all be dual credit options, and lifeguarding would also add another industry certification that our kids could earn. Which takes me to the third metric here, which has to do with industry certifications and college and career pathway endorsements. This is not something we have tracked extensively in the past. So we'll be working with School Links to track these certifications and track our 4-year plan for each of the students. As we move forward, we'll be able to gather much more data. So that number is at 4% right now, but a lot of the data has not been tracked, which made it difficult to determine a baseline specifically for the 4-year plan and the industry certifications. So certifications our kids are currently earning in the computer maintenance classes, they're earning Microsoft Office certifications, essentially Word, Excel, PowerPoint, stuff like that. We'll be working on working with Google certifications moving forward, as well as some Dell computer certifications. We also prepare kids in that class to take the CompTIA Plus certification exam, which is the industry certification exam for all IT. Anything IT, if you enter into the IT world, you have to pass that test. We have had a few students pass it, and we're trying some new things to get more students to pass it. But that's a pretty big one that some of our kids have earned. In foods, we have ServSafe Food Handler and Restaurant Manager, our industry certs. The restaurant manager is a priority. Every restaurant in America has to have someone working at all times with that certification. That's a certification that our students are currently earning. We had one student earn it first semester, and we're implementing some new curriculum second semester to earn some more. Working with Scott Albright, we've proposed an athletic training pathway for next year. With that pathway, students can earn certifications working with ATI, our trainers here, and do an internship with them. They've already begun doing that out of human anatomy. We have students who are working in the training office every day, earning certifications in muscle stimulation, 2 different certifications for ankle rehab, and another certification for rehabilitation, and they're certified through Sim Rated. We also trained 35 students this year to be AVID tutors, which is not an industry certification, but it is a certification students need and they can take with them after high school to get jobs in high schools and middle schools to be certified AVID tutors while they're going to school. It's a part-time job, but something that we've been able to provide here because of all of our work with AVID. We were able to provide the training free of cost to interested AVID students on campus. We did that in October. Journalism, so moving forward, other things that we're working with, journalism has some industry certifications that we would like to try and add through the JEA, the Journalism Education Association. Photojournalism, AP Style, and Editing are all industry certifications that our kids can begin to earn. Lifeguarding, I mentioned, there's also a plan if for some reason lifeguarding is not a dual credit class and we're not able to offer the certification in class, Connor and I have some different opportunities for kids to come in on a weekend and we can provide those certifications for them if that's something they would like to do. And then child development offers a daycare certificate where students can graduate and then work as an entry-level position in a daycare. Brittany Bauer and I are working on that. So just to give you some kind of what we've been doing, this is a new role. I wanted you guys to kind of know what that role provided. Some other things that we've done to really help us meet those goals and exceed those goals, hopefully. Mary and I created the PACE framework in the spring into the summer, so that's a document. It's linked, but you can see the 4-year plan for what you can expect, and this is for parents, for educators, for students, of what they can expect as far as developing that 4-year plan. It stands for post-secondary and college exploration framework, I think. I might be a little off on that, but that's what it is. It's essentially helping us hold ourselves accountable for a 4-year plan, as well as giving the parents and the students some information as to what they should be learning. Been collaborating quite a bit with Dawn Erickson, our college and career counselor, head of counseling, for developing that 4-year plan and what that will look like. We're going to track most of this on School Links, which it's a platform we use to track experiences. I think that it's going to be a great way for parents to get involved to see what are their students' progress with the 4-year plan. We're also using U-Science this year, which is they identify things they're interested in, but then there's also surveys for what their aptitude is. So it kind of takes what are you interested in, what are you good at, what's a good fit. Some of our students are super interested in stuff, but maybe their aptitude isn't where it needs to be. So then they also understand, hey, if I want to be a doctor, I really need to improve on what U-Science is saying. DEN has been a great opportunity for us to implement some of these School Links lessons. The School Links lessons ask kids to figure out what are they interested in, what courses should they be taking, stuff like that. It's a lot of college and career exploration. We've also expanded the DEN career talks. Last year we had about 1 speaker a month. Now we're at 2 or 3 a month. And honestly, I could fill probably 2 a week. The community has been super involved in this. The Chamber of Commerce they want to come in and speak to our kids. So it's been a great, it's not really a problem, but it's hard to bring everyone in because it takes time away from DEN every time a career speaker comes in, because students leave DEN to go to the career speaker. So not all the students are leaving DEN, but we've kind of tried to balance it. So we're at 2 or 3 a month. We could potentially move to more, but there are a lot of community members who want to come in and speak to our kids about the opportunities out in the community. And then finally, 2 additional things. My goal is to have a course sequence for every single career cluster. So there are 16 career clusters. So when you have time to look at the course sequence, I've put a health science career cluster example on there. But basically it says, if you're interested in this career cluster, here's a suggested 4-year high school plan. So every student can look at the career clusters they're interested in and see what does a 4-year plan look like from freshman through senior year. What are some electives I should be looking at? What are some careers I might be interested in? Where are some resources for me to learn more? So the one that's on there is a draft. I feel pretty good about that one, but once these are done, I'll work with Dawn Erickson to make sure that everything on there is accurate as far as what they can take and what they can graduate with. Super excited about this. I've been part of a work-based learning cooperative with Mary's a part of this as well, but it's with everyone in DuPage County. The CTE administrators, assistant principals, some superintendents, assistant superintendents are part of this. Dr. Johansson is well aware of everything going on with this, but it's essentially how do we get more work-based learning opportunities for our students, whether that be through internships or micro-internships. How do we get students in the workforce learning hands-on job skills with things they're interested in? So I think we're moving in the right direction. We have opportunities for our kids to get some, I would call them workplace experiences. We've had kids visit manufacturing floors. We went to a culinary institute, but really just finding those opportunities for our kids to get on the job site, learn about them, and then ultimately do full-blown internships that would be 60 to 80 hours a year. We're probably a year or 2 away from that, but today we just booked an accounting firm reached out, so we're going to bring our accounting students over for a full day job happening. I think we're in the right direction, and it's definitely exciting.
Right. I was told this was 3 to 5 minutes. Nicholas. All right. Our team members for Goal 2, myself, Ms. Jenna Wint behind me, Dawn Anderson, who was just talked to on the first group, our Director of Counseling, Ari Koss, who's one of our school social workers, Christina Sladek, who's one of our science teachers, Janet Hurtado, who is one of our deans, Jeff Anderson, who's also a social worker, Michelle Walters, and Nicole Stadler, who are avid teachers, Nick Perry, who is one of our athletic directors, Steve Belhan, our math division head, and Regina Pauli, one of our SPED teachers. So within this goal of student sense of belonging and accountability, our goal is to provide all students with a relevant, rigorous, respectful, and reflective learning environment. I'm here to talk about strategy 1, that is to provide students with programs, procedures, and practices to close current social, emotional, and physical non-academic gaps. So with our team members, you see we have a lot of people from all over the place, especially with avid social workers, deans, and we have a very eager group. So our primary conversation piece from last semester when we first met was to begin with strategies that we are going to measure and use tools that are at our current disposal to use and start and build from there. Because student sense of belonging and accountability doesn't have those tangible pieces that kind of the academic realm has. So we are always looking to expand on our practices, and we have a very eager group. Going back to last May, Group 2 decided to utilize a metric within the University of Chicago 5 Essentials Survey. That survey will be coming out here again in January. And that's a tool that we already have in our toolbox that hits on that supportive environment piece. We believe that this hits on the 4 areas that directly speak to this first strategy because supportive environment measures the extent to which students feel safe, supported, and academically challenged within their school. It reflects student and teacher perceptions of caring adult relationships, consistent expectations for behavior, and a learning environment that's both supportive and also demanding. Research behind the 5 Essentials survey shows that a strong supportive environment is closely linked to student engagement, attendance, persistence, and academic achievement. I would like to go over those key components of the supportive environment metric so we can help to build a greater understanding. The first component is student-teacher trust. That is a student response within the survey. Students believe that teachers care about them as individuals and want them to succeed. Students feel comfortable seeking help and asking questions and sharing concerns with teachers. Students are perceived as fair, respectful, and consistent in their interactions with students. High levels of trust strengthen student engagement and motivation and persistence. When students trust their teachers, they are more willing to take academic risk and ask for help and remain engaged in their learning. The second component is safety. Students feel physically and emotionally safe in classrooms, hallways, and common areas. Clear behavior expectations and routines are to create predictability and reduce anxiety and support student learning. A safe school environment allows for students to focus on learning rather than on fear, conflict, or uncertainty. And that is a student response within the survey. The third component is school-wide future orientation, which is also a student response. Students perceive a clear connection between what they are learning now and their future goals. Teachers and staff regularly communicate how academic skills apply to college, careers, and life beyond high school. The school promotes goal setting, persistence, and growth, reinforcing students' belief in their ability to succeed. Adults encourage students to reflect on their strengths, interests, and next steps after graduation. We've also looked at that within DEN, counselor and career activities. When students see how their learning connects to their future, they are more motivated, engaged, and invested in their education. And the final component to this survey is expectations for post-secondary education, and that is a teacher response. So there's 3 student responses to this part and 1 teacher. And teachers communicate that post-secondary education or training is an expectation and an attainable goal for students. Instructional practices reflect college, career, and workforce readiness, including critical thinking, responsibility, and persistence. Teachers provide clear feedback, guidance, and encouragement to help students meet post-secondary expectations. And the 5 Essential Survey captures whether teachers consistently hold high post-secondary expectations and actively support students in meeting those expectations. So basically, what are we doing to supporting our environment? Our work thus far this year is begin to foster a deliberate commitment to school for the Wildcats. And I was our safety, as far as a safety. So we took a long look at that when we were setting up our action plan for this fall. We made that one of our primary focuses. And with that, we implemented and added safety days in the fall that we've National School Safety Week as a district, where we pushed out a ton of information to parents, students, and community about all things that are safety, whether in and around the school. We increased the frequency and consistency of our safety drills this fall and provided classroom action guides and some of our large action guides that you can see here in the community room that are added for safety for people in and around the building, even those that are not familiar. And added professional development to deepen our communication strategies during emergencies specific to Blue Point. That was just a couple weeks ago. During Safety Week in DENS, we presented on See Something, Say Something, and also surveyed students to identify trusted adults with the building. That information from the survey was shared with counselors, social workers, and deans to support timely follow-up and targeted interventions as needed. These steps reinforce both physical and emotional safety and strengthening adult-student connections within our building, which we believe is very important. In support of school-wide future orientation and raising expectations for post-secondary education, I don't think anybody can explain it as good as Nick Kempsky just did in his work, but we also share one person within our team, and that's Dawn Erickson, who steals half your stuff. So we are leveraging our partners in Goal 1 and increasing student success via schooling. Schooling has been very important for us in Goal 2 as it is in Goal 1, as raising that expectation for post-secondary success with our students as well as with our staff. I just said Nick Kempsky has done an amazing, a tremendous amount of work with that. And these efforts help students see a clear connection between both their current learning environment and their future goals. As a team, we look to build out more of those focus areas as we move into second semester. Together, these efforts demonstrate our commitment to creating a school environment where students feel safe, supported, and challenged, and where everyone is prepared to succeed in high school. Strategy 2.
I'm hard to understand, but here we go. Strategy 2, focusing on attendance, chronic absenteeism, engagement, and motivation, identification, training, and support for using innovative instructional practices, programs, and services. So we focus specifically on student engagement and chronic truancy as 2 of our metrics for this strategy in particular. So when we look at student engagement, at the percentage of students that are involved in a club, activity, or last year's was 61%. We seen an uptick with the addition of our girls flag football team, which was an awesome asset. We had over 50 young women to participate between the JV and varsity teams. which is wonderful. Truancy is, we hear these metrics and we're trying to increase, and for truancy, we want to that number. So this is the students who miss 5% or more in a school year without cause. So 5% days. 9 days seems like a decent amount of time, and it's like, how does it work up? It's on average 1 month, which is not, it's pretty easy for students to do feel well 1 day a month. Last year, our metric was at 25%. This year to date, we're at 20.5%. So that number looks really great. We are in the middle of cold and flu season. We are in the school year. And some of those kids might be sitting right at that bubble, 7 days, 8 days. They're missing one more without a valid reason semester, and now they're considered chronically truant. This is not something that is just building. We are feeling just as a building. This is a countywide focus. This is a statewide focus. And the county and the state are webinars and trainings, and we are really trying to use our allies and rally to support our students, because this is something that's affecting all of our kids throughout the state. So what are we doing to address this? When we look at student engagement, athletics and IH sponsored activities are easy, right? They're easier to monitor. We have to submit a roster that provides specific names so we can just count them more easily. Activities, on the other hand, are wonderful for our kids. We have a variety of offerings for them, but they are a little more. What does that mean for kids? It's right? I can show up. I never did this before. I have to have that background knowledge. I can just show up and try it. If I don't, I can just not come back. A sport, on the other hand, there's usually an investment. Maybe they grew up playing. They feel like the pressure of a tryout. They feel like they need to for a full season, and that might scare some kids away. So for kids to move in and out of those activities that we offer throughout the year is a plus, but it makes it more challenging to account for who's moving in. At the same time, who are involved in sports, so they just for the fall season, play basketball, and then come back. Very often, some of the kids we see are involved in multiple, which is wonderful, but depending on what's going on, they sometimes have to choose one over the other. We are really excited about Bocce being added this year. They have been meeting on a weekly basis. 32 members, so that is wonderful as well. Social media, communications, both the athletic departments have done a great job communicating, highlighting athletes of the week, highlighting what is going on, that there's a club for everyone. Dave Jennings took on the new role of the activity director this and had a little phrase that's saying, "We goes all set," and set stands for something every day. And he made sure to work with our club sponsors to make sure that offered every single Tuesday through homecoming week, especially to grab those fresh, get involved. I tell you how important these and clubs are to help our kids know that we see the academic make, but not only that, we see the buy-in and the commitment. They invest in our building, their behaviors go down. They don't have trouble because of maybe an athletic coach, but at the same time, sometimes just a disappointed face from. So we're really excited about welcoming our new Wildcats into the building next fall, class of 2030, which seems like such a crazy number. So we have plans in the works for the 8th grade open house, which will be that first week right after winter break, and then step-up days that will happen late in April, early May, where the feeder schools will come over, spend some time here, get to tour the building, and kind of feel out what their new home and next chapter for the next 4 years feels like. MTSS is something we're really excited about, and the work that Mary Howard has done with all of our academic divisions related to PLTs or professional learning teams that create the bigger PLC or professional learning community that we are as a school building. Same way we have an attendance PLC. The same thing Mary talked about, Tier 1, what are we doing for all of our students? So we have been coming up with some creative ways, some slogans to really promote positive attendance, consistent attendance. We know the more kids show up, the better they do. We want them to come every single day. In addition, our family and engagement and outreach Division has been doing a lot of work not only with some of those more needy families that need the additional support, but also Tier 1, kids who are McKinney-Vento, that we are providing additional transportation, helping with different housing insecurities, food insecurities, all of that. They all kind of are a wraparound service of what that family individually needs and how we can best support them. The attendance PLC is made up of myself, deans, counselors, social workers, so we all have that different perspective of what we're hearing within our own little divisions and how we can bring that back to promote it school-wide. Second semester, I'm really looking forward to seeing some of our creative ideas come to fruition with some messaging, branding, marketing, all of that to promote that positive message. Chronic truancy, like I said, that is something we are struggling with, but it's not just us. I have attended trainings and webinars and are really seeking out all of the resources to see what we can bring back here as soon as possible. In addition, I was really excited that I was granted the opportunity to partner with the Regional Office of Education. They came in, sent 4 different staff members, and they conducted a seat assessment tool, which is a survey of, or a scan of the environment and attendance. It was so nice to hear just with fresh eyes, like, how do you do that? Explain to me this process, things that we just do because that's part of our daily routine. But they were just asking the questions, which makes us really stop and think, are we doing this the right way? Do we need to maybe make some adjustments? We did that in late November. I was really hoping we'd have results for that, but with the holiday and schedules, hopefully maybe later this week, if not right after winter break, I anticipate to hear that. But they walked into classrooms, just signage, all the different things. They were very impressed with our building and said what a beautiful place it is for our kids. Attendance specialists, they are meeting with our students to address these needs, talking to them, meeting with their families, figuring out what is causing them to miss school. Is it a day, like full day absence? Is it something that they're struggling with in the morning that we can help support? And then we are then meeting as a student intervention team with the attendance specialist, the deans, and myself to kind of problem solve what they are hearing and figure out what else we can do to support them. Second semester, we're going to move to a more formalized process. We're going to add in some counseling, social workers, and see what other resources we need. And of course, consult with family engagement and outreach for those additional needs as well. Our biggest focus here is increased communication with parents and students. We have been sending weekly tardy emails, so every parent is aware of if their student has 8 or more tardies on a weekly basis. I do appreciate the responses that I have gotten. They're very aware of what is going on and are disappointed sometimes. And then one of the things that we are doing within our attendance PLC is we're looking at this monthly attendance data. So every single student is receiving, we pull attendance for the month. They're seeing their snapshot in real time of what their present attendance is, including excused and unexcused. We're monitoring those month by month and then figuring out what trends and patterns we are seeing, identify kids who have significantly decreased, as well as celebrating the kids who are increased or maintaining that 95% or better that we are hoping for. The biggest thing here is using that data to inform the decisions that we make, design strategic interventions, and then progress monitor to see how those interventions are working or not working and that we need to adjust. Thank you.
So I briefly will review goal number 3, the 3 focus areas and the respective targets and metrics for those focus areas. You can see the team members up there: Jennifer, Len, Mary, Paul, Blanca, Krista, Beth, and Lisa have made a 2-year commitment so far as volunteers, which is greatly appreciated. And 2 of those members, Paul and Blanca, as you know, are the presidents of our 2 collective bargaining groups, which is key. Our first focus area is retention, the retention of our teachers. Instead of looking year to year, we will look year to year, but use a 3-year average. And so the focus is to annually improve a 3-year retention average of teachers by 10% over 5 years, with a focus on their first 5 years, which is not just in our school district, in many school districts, the time when we lose employees during those first five years. It's a lofty goal to increase by 10%, and you can see the metrics down there. The baseline is 88.4, so we retain 88.4% of our teachers over the last 3 years. That goes from the 2022-23 school year to last year, 24-25, with that baseline. Our target after 5 years is 98.4. Again, that's lofty, but we want to go for it. Our previous recent high is 95.6. And you can see it was 2019-2020 school year through 21-22. Our treatment and our opportunities to encourage and promote this target, some of the samples are listed below. Our second focus area is to improve staff perception of being valued and recognized as measured by our annual survey data with an enhanced supportive environment over five years. And so, like Action Team 2, we will also be utilizing the 5 Essential Survey. And their rankings in this area are very weak, neutral, strong, and very strong. Currently, our baseline is 24-25 school year is neutral. This past year, it was neutral. And our target goal is to be at the top, very, very strong, and there's no reason we shouldn't get there. And you can see some of the samples of our treatment below, listed at the bottom of the page. Our third and final focus area is advanced degrees. We want to increase the number of our licensed staff with their professional and their advanced degree by 15% over five years. Our school district's baseline is 57%. So a little bit more than half of our licensed staff have their master's degrees. This past year, entering the year, we had 61%, so we ticked up a little, which is great, and our goal is 72%. If you look around at the higher performing school districts, the average number of licensed staffs, it's in the 70s and sometimes 80%. And so this is a goal through, you can see the treatment below, we should aggressively go after, because it pays dividends. And this goal focuses on the adult, but if our adults have a good sense of belonging and feel valued, that will improve their productivity, which in turn makes things better for kids day in and day out.
Goal 4 focuses on communication, engagement, and partnerships. On the slide, you'll see the names of the different team members. I'll just point out that we do have people from various roles, social worker, counselors, administrators. We do have some people that, for example, the administrative assistant to the principal is on there, the administrative assistant to the activities director also sit in this team. So we definitely have a large group of people that are part of this process in different roles, just because parent engagement and communication really touches on a lot of different areas. And so for this goal, one of the first metrics is to provide opportunities for families and the community to engage with the school and the district. And so what we did was we began to identify what are the key events happening at the school that we would like to increase participation in, and intentionally focus our communication efforts and making sure that parents are aware of specific events. And so those events that we identified as being critical events that we wanted to be very intentional about communication and increasing participation were 8th grade family night, college and career fair, and also our fall and winter fall and spring parent-teacher conferences. With respect to our 8th grade family night and college and career fair, this year we're just really collecting baseline data. We had not collected data in the past that does tell us what our participation is. Now for parent-teacher conferences, our goal was to increase by 2%. That is something that we have data over several years. We also are looking to increase our athletic attendance. So it's really important to have a community present at events, and so we want to work with the community to increase athletic participation at different events. And the other area focuses on leveraging some of the systems that we already have in place. For example, BPAC. We want to have them engage in a gradual release of responsibility model where they are being autonomous and really working as an advisory role to the school, giving us feedback, helping us plan and organize events. We're also looking at data and metrics similar to the other goals, looking to specifically target that involved families portion of the 5 Essentials survey and increasing that by 3%. We hope that all these different things that we're engaging in and these different activities are going to directly result in an increase in that area. And the last thing that we're working on with our communications director and a subcommittee of this group is developing a marketing strategy, and the goal would be to promote visibility, engagement, and participation. And that marketing strategy really is going to look at, one, evaluating our current communication practices, but then being very intentional in having a process for communication and protocols for some of this. We do have some data to share with you so far, how we've been doing so far, and we'll have Teresa share that with you, our parent outreach coordinator.
Yeah, hi. So for parent-teacher conference participation, we did have increased by 23.6% from fall 24 to the fall 25. We actually did different strategies to be able to get more parents involved. For the athletics, we sold 2,952 tickets during the fall athletics season. The goal was 4,353, accounting for 69.8% of the goal. For the BPAC, we held 6 events with increased participation from last year. We are going to finalize its bylaws, and we're actively working towards sustaining the group, so towards the autonomy of the group. And right now, for the communication part, we are working in developing a rubric to assess our communication practices, and we'll use that data to create marketing and communication plan.
So the second strategy that we have is to partner with our elementary districts to ensure that our students are ready for high school. And one of the things that we're really focusing on is collaborating with our feeder districts to have conversations, academic articulation conversations. I'm currently meeting with all 3 of our principals. We meet once a month, and we started having these meetings in, I think September was our very first meeting, so we've been meeting and we'll be meeting, continuing to meet throughout the remainder of the year, but our conversations have really focused on how can we really prepare our 8th graders for high school. And so as a collective group, that is really our goal, making sure that our 8th graders are coming in prepared, making sure that our families are also coming in prepared for high school. One of the things that we have organized is a day for the middle school teachers to visit 9th grade classrooms. So we've identified 3 days in January that our middle school teachers will be here visiting and just seeing what a ninth grade classroom looks like. And so this is just really an effort to engage in the first step in those academic articulation conversations. So we have those scheduled over 3 separate days in January, and then they'll also have an opportunity to debrief for teachers and our division heads.
Okay, goal number 5 is fiscal stewardship and resource alignment. So the members of this team were selected because of their experience, perspective, and insight into key areas that align with our goal number 5. And so first off is fiscal stewardship, and that would be myself and then Laura Behrens out of the district office. And then building maintenance and facilities, Dave Pater is part of that group, and then Mike Day, Sergio Espinoza, Bob Schmidt. I'm going to throw Connor Zapatil in there as well, and Joe McCollum as a teacher. There's a math teacher, plus also a coach, and also part of our insurance committee. Additionally, so then technology needs that support both the staff and the students, and then also some unique considerations to our special education, which we have Megan Payleitner there to help with those. Additionally, the team includes some staff members who can speak directly to our educational pathways for students, ensuring that our discussions and recommendations remain aligned with our the goals outlined in our strategic plan as we consider building needs for foods or for CTE department. So together, this group represents a thoughtful cross-section of operational and instructional expertise, allowing us to approach this work in a well-rounded, student-oriented way. So the goals are that the district would maintain a 3.5 rating from ISB for financial status, the increase to EL expenses compared to overall expenses, our demographics, again, as we all know, majority Hispanic, so it makes sense that we should have more expenses for that. An increase to our salary and benefits when compared to our overall budget is very important. That came out in the strategic plan. And then as part of transparency, updating our financial website, making sure that it's easier to use and to gather that information. And then looking at our utilization of room usage and capacity, make sure that all the classrooms are filled and that every one of our spaces are utilized to its full capacity. And then also ensuring that our maintenance and our technology work orders are up to date and done quickly and with respect to everybody in the building to make sure that operationally the building continues to move forward. So where are we at this point in time? So have you already heard tonight from our auditor that we have actually increased to 4.0, which is the highest mark from ISB. So we can put a check mark on that one. We're done. Then REL expense is expected to be at 2.6%, which is an increase from our initial baseline of 2.36%. Salary and benefit expenses are also expected to increase to 66.6 based off of the FY26 budget. We're obviously also negotiating, and so that's going to be helpful there. And then as we start to build the budget for FY27, which, believe it or not, is going to be starting very soon, we will look to utilize a ClearGov, one of our financial softwares, to update the website, again, make it more transparent, easier to use. And then we're still investigating on our operating capacity and room utilization and working with division heads there and see how we can actually maximize the space and have more of a collaborative way to do that and discuss of the best needs of the building. And then lastly, investigating those efficiencies within the maintenance and technology work orders. We believe in most cases that we are already pretty efficient on our work orders, but it's always good to take a look and make sure that if we can improve upon those and see how we can continue to move forward. So overall, I think our team's making some good progress with the start of the strategic plan, and we plan to continue to move efforts going forward.
Deep breath. Deep breath.
Break.
What is the common theme here as you listen to the last probably 45 minutes? Collaboration, right? We've got over 50 unique individuals that represent these 5 teams that are working on clear action steps. So it becomes an if-then. If we do this, then we see results on the screen behind me in terms of scores. So now we're going to dive into the data. So all of these action steps that we've taken, how does that equate into actual metrics and growth, right? And how will that equate to growth in the future as well? So the first thing you'll see is going to be the board report. It's the ECRA report. It goes into a little bit more detail, but I did a couple screenshots to give you an overview as to what this looks like. So the reason why I partner with ECRA is a data company that I would say 60 to 70% of the districts in the state use, and they help to relay data in an easily digestible manner. So as I alluded to at the beginning of the presentation, one of the issues we had was converting from SAT to ACT, and how do we compare that? How are we easily able to explain what that growth looks like? So what ECRA did for us here, and along with many other districts in the state, is they looked at the district percentile. So if you look at the far left, those are the indicators, and those represent what's on the state report card. All of those things mirror what's on the state report card, and they also appear in our district data dashboard as well. So they took that and they looked at the 23-24 school year when we used SAT for English, for ELA, and for math, and for science, right? And then if you look over in 24-25, there was the ACT. So what they did in the boxes in the red on the screen is they equated that to a district or a state percentile ranking. So where do we fall? Where does our score fall in comparison to schools within the state? So if you look at ELA proficiency in 23-24, 19% of our students were proficient on the SAT that year, which equated to the 9th percentile in the state. Okay? When we transitioned to ACT last year, 42.9% of our students were proficient in ACT, but that equated to the 25th percentile. So if we're simply just looking at the 19th percentile in 24 and the 42nd percentile in 25, we're talking about 2 different tests. But if we look at how we compare to the state and the state percentile, then that gives us a more accurate representation on how our students are doing in comparison to the state. So we showed tremendous growth in the state percentile ranking in ELA, tremendous growth in math. Science, we took a little decline, and that was because of the change in the test and what they're measuring. But there's a slide that I'm going to show you at the end of this presentation here, and you're probably thinking, oh my God, this is not the end. No, it's not. There's a slide that I will show you at the end that's going to show comparables as well. So as we look down those through the red boxes on the screen behind me, you're going to see there was no growth measurement in 23-24 because growth just appeared on the state report card this year. So there's nothing to compare it to. But if you slide over to the right, and you can see that we're 48.6% growth in ELA, 49.4, which is what I told you we were at the beginning of the presentation, and how we looked at its speed more than percent. That comes out into the 58th percentile when compared to the state. 9th grade on track, we declined a little bit, right? We decreased. We went from the 26th percentile down to the 21st percentile. Our graduation rate, while it increased from 86.7 to 87.5, which is good, it's showing growth internally. If we compare that to the state, we actually went down 5 percentile points when compared to everyone else in the state. And what that tells us is that everyone else in the state grew faster than we did this year, but we still show growth year over year. The other snapshot I wanted to show you is the student demographics, and I think this is important because there's key metrics here that have a strong indicator on academic performance, and that is our homeless, our low income, and our EL population, right? So if we look at the very top of the screen, our white students, we're at 20% of our students are white. That falls within the 8th percentile of the state. Does everybody understand, like, the state percentile rankings, what that means? So that means that 92% of the other schools in the state have a higher white percentage population than we do. Black students comprised of 28%, that held steady. Hispanic students were at 97%. So that tells me that there's only 3% of the students of the districts throughout the state have a higher Hispanic population than we do. EL, we're at 90 and 91%. That continues to grow. IEPs, we're at the 11th percentile. And then if you look at our low income and homeless population, those numbers increased significantly in the last year. We went from 38% up to 47% low income. Our homeless population went from 5.3 to 7.6. And if you just go back 3 years, 4 years, our homeless population was 0.8, 0.9%. So we've seen an unbelievable increase in the number of students who have been determined to be homeless in our schools just in the last 5 years. So I say this to give you some perspective as to our student population. So this is our data dashboard. This is the dashboard and the metrics that the board approved early in the fall. Okay, this is exactly the same. The only two things that were added in here are the growth elements. And I made this as easy as someone who is colorblind. I made this green and red, which is terrible, but I made them different shades so I can tell you. So for quick reference, if it's green, that means we grew this year. If it's red, that means that we did not. So let's go through four-year graduation rate. We saw a 0.8% growth. Our goal for this year is 90%. Our 5-year goal is 92%. So we did see growth there. Our freshmen on track, we decreased. From 23-24 to 24-25, we lost 0.4%. Our goal is still at 90% at the end of this year, so we're still maintaining that goal with an end goal of 92% in 5 years. Our proficiency, as we talked about, and you can see how I put the state percentile ranking in there, we increased by 16% in both English, and we increased by 16% in the state percentile in math. So when we're looking at the growth, we're going to use that as a baseline for future years. So while our growth showed that we were at 48.6% in ELA and 49% in math, we're going to see how that compares to next year's growth. We have nothing to compare it to because this is the first year the state has measured that. And then science decreased by 11 percentile points. As we move forward with our post-secondary plan and post-secondary success, those are unique metrics to our district alone. So we don't have a baseline. This year is our baseline because we never measured it before. But if we're looking at the percentage of graduates with a post-secondary plan, that's at 65%. We're looking to increase that to 75%, and by the end of the 5-year plan, we're hoping that 98%, ideally it'd be 100% of our students would have a plan beyond high school written down. Does that mean that they're necessarily going to follow it? No, but it's written down. They have an idea as to where they want to go. When we look at post-secondary success, I know Mary and Nick touched on this. We're looking in its totality, the percentage of graduates that completed an AP or a dual credit course or received a career certification. It doesn't have to be all of them, just one of them. And we believe that if they obtain one of those things, it's going to give them more opportunities. It's going to open one other door for them to be successful in the future. So we're sitting at 67% there. This year, we're looking to increase by 1%. I think we could probably do that, and maybe a little bit more, Nick, right? Student engagement, we saw a tremendous growth between 23-24 to 24-25 in the number of students that are involved in something. And we know that if we get students involved in something, doesn't matter what it is, they're more likely to be successful academically and be successful beyond high school. We saw a 7% growth. That's incredible. And with the addition of the mariachi, with the addition of flag football, we could see another significant growth from this year to next year, which is wonderful. At the end of the 5 years, we're hoping to be at that 67%. So that tells me that over 2/3 of our students in this building are involved in something, which would be exceptional. Jenna alluded this earlier. This is the one where we don't want to see a positive, we want to see a negative, but we actually went up from 24 to 25% in chronic truancy. We're looking to stabilize this year, and at the end of the 5 years, get down around that 17%. And they're doing some great things. Jenna was a little modest. They are starting their intervention groups second semester to start to monitor multiple things, not just attendance, which should hopefully lead to more engagement, more involvement, and less truancy. And this was one that we had a lot of discussion on the fall, the racial disproportionality rate in student discipline. In 23-24, we were at 5.5%. This past year, we reduced it by 2, which is which is significant, right? And this doesn't mean that and we had this discussion in here earlier, doesn't mean that we stop consequencing students. Students are still being held accountable for their actions, but it means that that we are monitoring and tracking this and looking at this to ensure that we are equitable in the application of our discipline. So that's something to be proud of and to really highlight. The last three elements here, every action team has touched on in some capacity, so I'm not going to go too far in depth with that, but we've either maintained or shown positive growth from 23-24 to 24-25, which is encouraging, and you can see the goals for the end of the year moving forward. I've got to adjust Dan's goal. Since he hit that perfect rating this year, he's going to be held to that moving forward. You can't win, right, Dan? You can't win.
4.5 would be that goal.
So this is just a quick review. There are a lot of positive stories to take away just in the last year, right? A lot of positive things. And it's very encouraging to hear what the teams are doing to continue to move the needle. And we've only just begun. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every year that we give this presentation, which will be the same time, that we're going to always have growth. But I can tell you we have the right people in the right places, and we have the right staff working to make sure that we do everything we can without making excuses to put our students in the best position possible. So a lot of times we look at data and we're like, well, how do we compare? Like, everybody wants to know, am I as good as so-and-so? So here's what we did. So a nice little tool in the state report card this year is that you can look at like schools. So, and you can put in the parameters that you want. So what I punched in were high schools roughly about 2,000, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. I looked at those demographics that I shared with you on the previous screen, the previous slide, that looked at our white population, our Latino population, our low-income population. I put those parameters in there. Our EL population hovering around 30 to 35%, low income around 50%, homeless around 7 to 8%. And this is what it showed me, that these are schools that compare to us demographically, okay? And then we look at how did they perform on the ACT in comparison to us. At the end of the day, we should be competing against ourselves, right? That's how we show growth. But it's always nice to see how we compare to others just as a frame of reference. So if we look this past year, 24-25, in ELA, we were middle of the road when it came to proficiency in ELA, right? Middle of the road. In math, we were a 0.1 percentage point away from the very top. So I'm going to say we're at the top in compared to our peers. In science, even though we saw a decline in the actual percentile ranking of science, we were at the very top in comparison to other schools that look like us. Make sense? At 43.9. And then the composite ACT score was middle of the road again. So the reason why I'm sharing this with you is we saw growth internally, small growth here. When you look at it in its totality against the whole state, you think of, well, it's not that great. But then when you look at it in terms of high schools that look like us, we're as good, if not better than most. So what does that mean? It means we still have work to do. Data is all in how you interpret it and how you want to present it. I could have picked and chosen whoever I wanted to compare this to and told you a story one way or the other. The data is the data. We own it. We understand that this is an amazing place for our students to learn, an amazing place for, hopefully, for our teachers to teach. I know it's an amazing place for administrators to be, and we want to continue to give our students opportunities to grow incrementally year over year in some of these metrics that we talked about while we incorporate those action steps that those teams have done. So, with that, thank you. So thanks for taking the time to listen to this very lengthy but I think worthwhile presentation on data. If you have any questions, I will be posting this onto the website, the data presentation on the website. It'll also be included back in the agenda in the board book as well.
Thank you for that.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say thank you for that presentation. Thank you for the specific metrics are wonderful. It was really wonderful to hear all of the specific action steps that are turning the ideas of the strategic plan into things that are actually happening to serve our students. That was very exciting.
I just want to add, I think we should probably give a round of applause
Yeah,
to all
thank
of these
you.
people that have been working so hard for our students.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a huge, huge thank you. To be honest with you, a lot of this was overwhelming because it was so much, and you obviously recognize that. So thank you for all your hard work, and thank you for posting this on the back in here too, because I tried to take notes and there was so much information it was impossible, but that's a good thing. So again, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right then, moving on to Executive Director of Business Services report. Mr. 4.0.
More fun. So the 2025 tax levy is on the agenda. Where are they all going?
Thank you, guys.
They've had enough for tonight.
They're exhausted.
So the 2025 tax levy is on the agenda tonight for the board approval under new business. As a reminder, the requested levy is $33,283,094, which is an increase of 4.59% over the prior year extension. This request is based on the December 2024 Consumer Price Index, which is 2.9%. The estimated equalized assessed valuation increase of 9%, and an estimated $15 million in new construction, along with a small balloon levy for the transportation fund, which will help to capture any incorrect estimates from our local assessors. With the board approval for tonight, I will then file the levy with the county clerk before the last Tuesday of the month as required. Update on the auditorium renovation. The district team, which includes staff members from our drama department, allied facility partners, and DLA, continue to meet to prepare for the auditorium renovations. We're looking at color options for carpeting, chairs, and the walls. Additionally, we're looking at different options for lights on the walls and along the aisles. Our goal is to keep the historical features of the auditorium while freshening up the other areas, ensuring that they complement each other. We're excited to have this completed for the 100-year anniversary next September. Update on some meal distribution. As students were leaving for Thanksgiving break on November 25th, Quest staff and district staff handed out 175 meal packs. In an effort to ensure meals got into the hands that needed it the most, our family outreach team hand-delivered 25 meal packs to families. For winter break, we handed out 200 meals earlier today as students left for the day. As a reminder, students will have final exams the next couple of days, and not all students will be in attendance. So this was the best way to provide the opportunity for all students to get the meals today. So again, additionally, once again, our family outreach team will deliver 25 meal packs later this week, and then an additional 25 meal packs between Christmas and New Year's, again, for those families that need it the most. And then on the agenda tonight, under new business, the board will notice an approval for plumbing repair. The district recently discovered a clogged sewer line in the main hallway. Our contractor attempted to clear the line using standard equipment and a sewer camera. However, the blockage could not be removed. So the camera inspection revealed that the line is obstructed by items that should not be flushed. And the location of the blockage does not currently have an accessible cleanout. So to properly clear the line and prevent future issues, the contractor has recommended installing a new cleanout at the point of obstruction, which is just outside of our commons. This work will require opening the floor, installing the cleanout, and then clearing the line. The district has obtained 3 quotes for the repair, and the lowest quote, which is at table, which is Roto-Rooter for $22,000. We had another quote for $28,000, and then a third quote was $46,000. So the Roto-Rooter is at table for your review, and we're looking to approve that tonight. Hopefully, our plan is to have that done over winter break as soon as possible. Roto-Rooter saying it's going to take 2 days. I don't think we believe them. I think it's going to take a little bit more, so hopefully we want to get them in as soon as possible because they're going to have to tear up make a pretty large hole in the floor to get down to that sewer, which is 7 feet deep. And so it's a bit of a project that we need to get started on right away, so it can all be done and over with by the time the students come back after winter break. And then lastly, the district did receive three donations under 500. The first was for $150 from Susan Siegfried for a snowball scholarship. If you don't know, snowball is a part of our student activity offerings and acts as a drug and alcohol prevention program. The second donation was for $220 from Carl Arrive and was also for the Snowball Activity Fund. The third donation was a $50 gift card from Kiefer USA and Jess Wilhite as part of the act of kindness request that the administration made to our vendors before Thanksgiving. The Board of Education does not need to approve these donations, but it is attached to the agenda for your information. That concludes my report.
Questions?
This is a city sewer under our property. Do we have to get any permits or any approvals from the city to be breaking into the sewer?
It's not a city, it's our sewer line underneath our building.
Okay, it feeds into the city though, right? I mean, are we free and clear to do whatever we need to do?
When it's under the building, it's all us, right? At least I know that from my home. I've had this done multiple times, and I really doubt it will take 2 days either. And for $22,000, I think it should take more than 2 days.
Get our money's worth.
Yeah.
Can I suggest that the student reports be done? They're in school, they've got to get approved.
Fine with that?
All right then, let's jump to our student board representative report.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As we approach finals week, many of us are busy with a lot of studying and a week full of exciting activities. On Friday, seniors Nick Riconosciuto and Matthew Krasinski held a Dungeons & Dragons campaign called Teacher Trials, where teachers played D&D for charity. The lineup of educators included Mrs. Januszewski, Mr. Caltagirone, Mrs. Rodman, Mrs. Fireman, Mr. Beal, and Mr. Princer. This was done as their personal leadership project for NHS. Another popular NHS project was Haley Turan's leaf raking event, where people got together to rake leaves for people who were physically unable to do so. I participated in this one, and we raked 6 local houses. Also, winter sports are in session with the boys and girls basketball season beginning, along with wrestling. There's a lot of success throughout the community, with the girls basketball team being undefeated for their first 6 games, and our student council raising $356 from the annual turkey drive. In other news, on December 5th, we participated in a Blue Point lockdown drill where students practiced safety procedures in case of an intruder. The drill went smoothly and definitely helped remind us what we should do if there were ever an intruder. More so, our school is taking even more precautions when it comes to entering the building. Next semester, us students are required to scan into the building using an app. I will be sure to follow up with the student body's thoughts on this policy when it gets implemented. Finally, our Holiday Spirit Week has brought our community even closer, where we participate in spirit days like Santa vs. Grinch and the fan favorite Pajama Day. During this week, We Go Global raised money for organizations like ICIRR and 6,000 Moms by selling Frosty Grams during lunch hours. Overall, these past weeks have shown that despite the stress from finals, We Go proudly remains strong in helping the community, prioritizing safety, and keeping up school spirit.
Good afternoon. As demonstrated, December has been a busy month for WeGo. With the student safety set as priority number 1, the school has implemented new safety protocols such as the 5-star app, which students must use to scan into the building, as well as new and improved lockdown drills in case of a real emergency. These new protocols have overall been respected by students, a classmate of mine saying, "Although it may seem tedious, it's good that the school is doing all that they can to make sure things run smoothly and that no students are left behind or unaware of what to do in the case of an emergency," demonstrating the positive impact the new protocols have had on behalf of the students. In addition to boys and girls basketball seasons beginning to start, spring sports such as girls badminton and girls soccer have already begun open gym sessions, where athletes may meet and begin to practice and train for their upcoming season, marking the start of new beginnings in the spring. In regard to music, the band, choir, and orchestra have successfully completed their concerts and raised families' Christmas spirits while celebrating holiday joy throughout. Although the concerts were spread out and conducted in 3 separate days, the band, choir, and orchestra have never felt closer. As a member of the orchestra and a part of the music community, I can speak for all musicians when I say that the holiday concert is one of the most fun and joyful concerts to play in. Seeing families' faces light up with a well-known Christmas song playing makes our hard work and dedication to the concert worthwhile. This month has brought forward a lot of improvement, new beginnings, and Christmas cheer as the new year draws near for everyone. As always, as seen in the school setting, WeGo is committed to creating a safe, inclusive environment by setting clear expectations that enhance school life while spreading positivity, spirit, and support for every member of the community.
Thank you, Rosie and Mason. You're certainly welcome to stick around if you'd like, but you're certainly welcome to take your leave if you have to prepare for finals. That brings us to Interim Executive Director of Human Resources report.
Thank you. Just two items. First, para. Para is defined by the Illinois School Code as the Performance Evaluation Reform Act, which establishes mandatory teacher and principal evaluation systems and required specific training for evaluators. We have a para committee as required by school code, and it's also required to meet twice a year. We are meeting for the first time tomorrow. Some of the salient points of para include standardized and improved educators' performance evaluation. It defines the evaluation components such as formal and informal observation, post-observation conferences, evaluation plans, and established standards. The required mandated training establishes a 4-tier evaluation system: excellent, proficient, developing, and unsatisfactory. Tomorrow in our para meeting, our agenda is pretty brief. 2 important topics, though. First, we're going to talk about the new law, which reduces the tenure process from 4 years to 3 years. And so anybody hired on July 1, 2023 or later takes 3 years to obtain tenure, 3 consecutive successful teaching years. Prior, as you know, it was 4 years. And so ironically, this year, we will have, at the end of this year, we will have people that have given us 4 consecutive successful years and people that have given us 3 consecutive successful years, and they'll both receive tenure the first day of next school year. The second item tomorrow is a discussion of the option that the state made available to school districts this year, and currently tenured teachers are evaluated every other year, as was mandated by school code. Now there's an option to evaluate tenured teachers every 3 years, and so we'll be doing the pros and the cons to that tomorrow. And then finally, we'll be developing the agenda for our spring meeting in April. The last item is the HR department wishes all of you and your family a happy holiday season.
Any questions? All right, principal's report.
December has been a month that's been marked by generosity and partnerships across our community. I'm pleased to highlight several offers that reflect the spirit of giving that really makes our community great. We're grateful for the coordinated efforts of our Family Outreach Department, which in partnership with We Go Together for Kids has organized the collection and distribution of holiday donations for our McKinney-Vento families. The goal is to support approximately 150 students this season. Thanks to the contributions from community members and staff, families will be receiving clothing, shoes, bedding, essential items, and gift cards. In addition, our bilingual Parent Advisory Committee, BPAC, hosted a posada on December 13th. Families gathered to share in crafts, a community potluck. They were able to take pictures with Santa Claus. The event provided a space for families to connect with staff and also honor a Latino cultural tradition. These activities reflect the importance of partnerships and the positive impact that results when our community comes together, and we're supporting our students and families. In your packets, you'll also find the attendance and discipline reports for November. Our attendance report indicates that the average daily attendance percentage for November was 89.48%. This is slightly lower than the 4-year historical average for the same month. However, our average daily attendance from the beginning of the school year to the end of November was 91.3%, and we are currently trending slightly higher than our 24-25 average of 90.85. Our discipline data from August through November indicates that the majority of our in-school suspensions resulted from tardiness and truancies. We're implementing various measures to support students' attendance. This includes increased communication, connecting families to appropriate referrals and supports as attendance or behavior needs are identified, and prioritizing a welcoming in-school environment. Our out-of-school suspension data for the same period shows that fighting was the primary behavior resulting in an out-of-school suspension. In response, we have identified the specific locations and times at which the fighting incidents occurred and increased supervision in those areas. When appropriate, our deans facilitate student mediations to address conflicts and help students develop strategies to resolve issues before they escalate.
Any questions?
No, I just want to comment. I really appreciate the elaboration on the attendance and the discipline data. I think we've needed a little bit more clarity, and I really appreciate that. So definitely we're moving in the right direction as far as that goes, because I really do think that that is a vision and an opportunity for us to look at things differently and have a little bit more foresight on what you're seeing in the building. Thank you.
I'll second that. I was going to comment the same. Thank you.
Right then, superintendent's report.
Okay, earlier this evening, the board and our community were able to see the progress we've started to make within our district as it relates to the board-approved strategic plan and district goals. While we're in the very early stages of the process, I could not be more encouraged by the hard work of our teachers, administrators, and staff to ensure we're doing everything within our power to improve student outcomes. This is not easy work, and change can be hard, but we have some of the most passionate and dedicated educators who will stop at nothing to ensure all of our students are successful, treated with dignity, and more importantly, loved. I'd like to thank our action plan leaders and teams for presenting this evening and for their ongoing support and dedication to the greater WeGo community. I'd also like to remind the board that it is evaluation time coming up, so I linked a copy of the board-approved evaluation timeline. My self-evaluation will be presented to the board at the January board meeting. This is also a reminder that the Press Plus 120 that was had its first reading on December 2nd will be coming for approval at the January 20th board meeting, so please let me know if you have any recommendations or would like to talk about any concerns you have in there. And lastly, we've received 4 FOIA requests since the last regular board meeting and have responded within the required time frame. All requests have been included in your packet. 2 other things of note. I would like to thank our vendors. Hopefully the board will approve the donations here coming up in the consent. We've collected nearly $6,000 in $50 gift cards for our families to be distributed, along with all of the hard work of our Family Outreach Department, Quest Services that Dan alluded to, the board for approving the purchase of the 200 meal packs. It has just been a wonderful season of giving, and I just wanted to acknowledge all parties involved and thank them. And lastly, I'd like to wish all of our board members and their families a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And what a joy it's been this past year to work alongside you, and looking forward to next year. So that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments? All right then, committee and representative reports.
No updates to report.
All right, that was easy. Future dates, January 20th, 2026, we've got a regular Board of Education meeting, and February 3rd is a committee of the whole meeting. That brings us to board members' open comments. In particular, any comments on the Press Plus issue 120 policies and feedback on the behavior intervention policy? Any comments on anything or those particular items?
We seem to use the term tier pretty liberally in education. Just tonight I counted 5 references to tiers, all different tiers. It'd be helpful to know what each of these tiers mean, because it kind of gets confusing when we're this tier and that tier. And
brings me to tears, so.
We can give you a presentation on the RTI and MTSS process that has the 3 different tiers. If we're talking about EBF, Dan can talk about the tiers of EBF.
Merit tier and, you know, a lot of different tiers. Doesn't have to be immediate, but somewhere along the line, it'd be good to have like a cheat sheet, just be able to follow along with all the tiers.
All the tiers. Will do.
Any other comments? All right, then, any future issues that anybody wishes to bring up? Hearing none, that brings us to the consent agenda. Does anybody wish any items removed from the consent agenda for separate action? Hearing none, the recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda for the minutes, financials, and reports, SOPPA approvals, and donations over $500.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel,
Aye.
Ms. Doremus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez,
Aye.
Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye. Motion carries. There being no old business, we move to new business. 2025 tax levy approval. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the resolution establishing the 2025 tax levy for taxes collected in 2026. The resolution to levy certain taxes, to waive their full reading, to authorize the Board President and Secretary to execute the requisite documents and all said documents.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nagel,
Aye.
Ms. Doremus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez,
Aye.
Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer.
Aye.
Motion carries. Cintas contract renewal, uniforms and laundry. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the 3-year Omnia contract with Cintas for providing uniform and laundry services as presented.
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Doremus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez,
Aye.
Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel.
Aye.
Motion carries. Plumbing repair. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the repair to the main sewer line in the amount not to exceed $22,000 to the lowest proposal submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez,
Aye.
Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel,
Aye.
Ms. Doremus.
Aye.
Motion carries. School calendar 2026 to 2027. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the 2026 to 2027 school calendar as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
I have a quick question. Was that coordinated with the feeder districts too?
They were informed as to the general dates of the draft, so they could plan. Yeah.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Chavez,
Aye.
Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel,
Aye.
Ms. Doremus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz.
Aye.
Motion carries. National High School Journalism Convention, April 15 to 19, 2026. Recommended motion the Board of Education approve the journalism field trip request to travel from April 15th to the 19th, 2026 to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and participate in the Spring National High School Journalism Convention.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Murphy,
Aye.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel, Ms. Doremus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez.
Aye.
Motion carries. Personnel report. The recommended motions the Board of Education approve the personnel report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown,
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Nagel,
Aye.
Ms. Doremus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz,
Aye.
Ms. Chavez,
Aye.
Ms. Murphy.
Motion carries. That's all of our business for open session. We will be going into closed session. There will be no action taken after closed session. The recommended motion that the Board of Education go into closed session at 9:07 p.m. for purposes of collective negotiating matters.
So moved. Oh, sorry.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Mr. Niegel. Mr. Remus.
No, not really. It's past 9 o'clock, I'm done.
I bought dilly bars, if that makes a difference.
I don't care
Or no,
about it.
Buster bars. Buster bars.
I
I was thinking of you.
I care about sleep.
Ms. Munoz.
Aye.
Ms. Chavez.
Aye.
Ms. Murphy.
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye. All right, we are going into executive session. Let's take 5.